What's up, everybody? Welcome. If you are tuning back into episode 3, thank you for being so loyal. Today I wanted to touch base on a few things. First of all, I changed my, channel name. It is now Untainted Talks with Mama Shay. I just feel like it's better to trademark it, so if you try to steal it, not that you would, but you can't. So don't try. Just kidding. Anyway, so secondly, I wanted to clarify. Last episode, I did say that I would expand on the whole custody and how the kiddos have been adjusting to that. However, I think that there's something more pressing today that I want to talk about. So it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Day. So I just wanted to take a sec to recognize those of you who are struggling mentally. Our mental health is piece of our overall health, so I think it's extremely important to make sure that you're good. Even if you're not good, there's a few things you can do. I mentioned it a little bit in my last episode, but if you're having a really hard time and you're experiencing some uncomfortable thoughts, dial 988 on your phone, or if you don't have a phone yourself, you can use someone else's. Just dial 988. That's all you gotta do, and they'll take it from there. The other things you can do is download, the apps are for mental health and therapy and just one-on-one help. There's Selena, there's Better You, there's Better Help, there's Kim's Hers, there's all kinds of places you can get help from, and even if you don't have insurance. So there's that. So I wanted to just make sure that everyone knows that there are avenues you can take if you don't feel comfortable talking with the people around you. If you feel like you're going to be judged or something, or you feel as if that there's something going on you can't really connect with others about in your life, then you can use those resources. It's super important. So shout out to everyone out there who is struggling, just pushing on. You don't have to. You can deal with it in a good way. There's unfortunately still stigma to this day around mental health and getting help for your problems, and I think it's really sad because we lose a lot of people, unfortunately, that we don't have to lose. With that being said, everything aside and all things considered, I want to jump into today's episode, which is really, 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 really important to me. I'm super excited about it. I'm going to take a little bit of a personal step back, if you will. Still going to share my stuff, but I wanted to talk about boundaries today. Did you guys know that 53% of Americans have problems or trouble saying no to people? That blew my mind. That really did blow my mind. And it's a common theme for, not only our generation, but the younger ones and even the older ones have problems with that. They just kind of have, we all just kind of push through it and whatever, just to make people happy. That, my friends, is called people pleasing. A lot of us are people pleasers. We have those tendencies. It's just kind of part of life. And honestly, sorry about that. 58%, not 53. It's 58% of Americans have trouble saying no to others. 65% of that are women. Anyway, so we have those tendencies because of, cultural reasons, how we were raised, our environment. Essentially, growing up with rejection is also another reason for it. And the other shocking number, 63% of Americans consider themselves people pleasers. 63%, you guys, that's a big number. Okay, I'm gonna calm down. Sorry, got a little carried away. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about that and expand on that and set important foundational rules for setting boundaries. Boundaries can be anything for anyone, for any reason, for any particular situation. So, coming from someone who struggled a lot, and still do sometimes, with saying no to people and being the textbook people pleaser, I have some insight for you. So if you're driving, do it safe. If you're doing chores, put this on loud. Also, if you're just chilling, doing nothing, then just sit back, relax, and let's get it. Now that we have established what we are doing, a few things. If you have a problem with saying no to people on a very consistent basis or routine basis, I would say, especially depending on who it is, right? You're a people pleaser. Point blank, period. First of all, the statistics that I revealed to you guys regarding 58% of Americans having trouble with saying no to others, as well as 63% of people considering themselves as people pleasers. I got this information from a website, and I'm going to share it with you guys so you can read upon it. It is for setting boundaries and a guide to protecting your well-being. thrivingcenterofpsych.com. They have provided me with that information as of October 2022. Those were the statistics. So if you want to read more on that and the surprising and shocking percentages of people who have a problem with boundary setting, that's your go-to. So first of all, I wanted to say that setting boundaries is kind of a hard thing to do. You're either overworking yourself just to get an acceptance with others, or you're an introvert and you don't like anyone and you just want to be in your zone and, do your thing. That's fine. But the thing is when you isolate yourself from people, that can cause a lot of sadness. It can cause some feelings of depression. It could also lead to a lot of behaviors in the future when you do develop relationships outside of isolation that are essentially socially unacceptable. And that's kind of hard to transition from that way to the other. And then you become a classic people pleaser because all you want to do is hide who you really are because of fear of rejection and fear of not being accepted. That's understandable to an extent, but I recently learned that you can't please everyone, right? People are almost impossible. Other people are almost impossible to 100% please or be the source of their happiness. You can't be the sole source of someone's happiness. It's just absolutely not realistic.
Oh my God!
So you can try, and it's okay to make other people happy. That's not what I'm saying here, guys. What I'm saying is you cannot be the only person in another person's life that causes them happiness. Why? Do I really have to tell you? Okay, I'll tell you. So the reason why is because if someone consistently relies on you for happiness, for one, they're not dealing with their own stuff.
Yeah.
Two, you become exhausted emotionally because you're pouring everything inside of you into that person. And now what happens? God forbid, knock on wood, do whatever you gotta do. It cannot be sustainable if something bad were to happen to you. What is that person gonna do now? Find someone else to make them happy in the same exact way that you did?
No.
Highly unlikely. However, those kinds of people have a attachment issue and need to address their problems like 100%. So yeah, that's one way. And the other thing is you can't expect to actually, give someone everything in you and provide them happiness if you're not doing the internal work. You gotta listen to yourself. You gotta take care of yourself. Oxygen mask. It's just about balance. It's a balancing act. That's all life is, honestly. We're all just balancing shit everywhere. So it's okay if a few things drop. You're juggling a bunch of things and you're having a hard time with keeping up and some things fall down. That's okay. That's part of life. What matters is understanding that not everybody is going to be receptive of what you're willing to give them. So, for instance, if you're in a relationship and you enjoy providing others with your everything and you put 100% into that person, without putting 100% into yourself first, that's going to blow up. And it'll do it in a way where you don't expect it. You know, what if someone else finds another person because they think you're too clingy or what have you, because you're giving them your everything constantly on a daily, hourly, minute basis, you know? And then you become extremely heartbroken. Or the other thing that'll happen is you'll fall into a state of depression because you were on this ride of dopamine, because you were seeing the effects that your actions and your support and your everything going into this person provided, and them being the only source of your happiness in return because they're now becoming happy. Well, yeah, if they find someone else, you're going to fall into a state of shock, and that's never a good feeling, you know? And mind you, if you're giving someone your everything, hoping in return that they give their, let's say, reactions or what have you, and you're trying to put everything into them because you think that you can somehow fix them or give them what they need or show them or shake them and say, hey, look, I'm giving all of this. Can you at least appreciate me? This, that, and the other. Well, my friends, that is called codependency. Nobody likes codependency. You think you do, but you don't. I promise you. Because the moment you're out of it and the moment you're actually working on yourself, that helps you realize, like, wow, I was like a stage 5 cleaner and I didn't even know it, you know? So, moral of that story is focus on you. If you have things you have not processed throughout your life, that's gonna be your number 1 priority. You are your number 1 priority, period. Kids are probably close to tying, but they're definitely not you. You need that. You need to show yourself love so much more than showing someone else that love first. So, and I don't want you guys to get this confused with only loving yourself, because that's unrealistic also. You can love yourself and love other people at the same time. But what I'm saying is you can't expect to love somebody else, even your kids, without doing the internal work first. So, anyway, with that being said, I have a few things that I want to cover regarding boundaries. So, if you're like me, or how I at least used to be in the past, I was 100% a classic non-boundary setter, people pleaser. For sure. There were things in my life and people in my life that I put above all else, you know, and I spent a lot of years worrying about what other people thought about me, and I spent a lot of years worrying about other people in general, that I completely lost myself. And it was such a yucky feeling knowing that I used to be this spunky, outgoing, happy, bubbly, driven, dedicated person, you know, and losing all of that because I was too primarily focused on making someone else happy. That was rough. It was a wake-up call, I'm not gonna lie. And it was one of those situations where I didn't see it coming, you know? I thought I was doing great because the people around me were doing great because I was giving them my everything, right? So years and years and years I spent with not paying attention to my needs and my wants because I didn't think it was important enough. That's such bullshit. That is 100% important. And I was just so delusional and so caught up in others around me that, and this is my responsibility, right? My responsibility, because I didn't do the work that I needed to do. But I was so caught up in the other people that I just was like, what is going on now? You know, after years and years and years of giving and wondering if you're enough. So when you wonder if you're enough, you tend to do extra, and that's like putting another emphasis on everything, right? It's just so complicated. However, after realizing, you know, well, I kind of had to go through a dark path first before realizing. realization, if you will. When I was at my lowest of lows, I did things that the me that I knew would never do. And it's not, I didn't, kill anyone or severely hurt anybody or anything like that. But I turned into a person that I didn't recognize, not even just in the mirror, but actionably. I was not the person that I remember. And that's super sad, but it's the truth. I was so caught up in the everyday life of work and kids and marriage and you name it, extracurricular activities. I wanted to do more to prove my worth, to prove that I can be this person, and I ended up being someone completely different than what I envisioned myself being. So I think it was about 2022, about 6 months or so after I had my son, I was struggling with postpartum depression. And that's a real thing, you guys. That's another thing that's extremely common. So when I was going through my postpartum depression, first of all, I didn't recognize it, at all. And postpartum depression can come at any point after you have a child. Even up to a year, that's the higher probability of someone developing postpartum depression is within that first year after they have a child. The highest risk is within that year. So this was, like I said, about 6 months after I had my third child, my son. And at some point, I don't even know when it happened, when I realized that was going on. But once I noticed that it was going on, it was already too late. Meaning I had already said and done things that I couldn't take back, that I couldn't reverse. And I was ashamed, not gonna lie. It was heart-wrenching, There were values and morals that I held to a certain degree within myself that all just went out the window around that time in my life. And I'm not proud of it at all, whatsoever. However, I do give a lot of my gratitude to that time period and to that person that I was struggling as, because had it not been for that, I do not know where I would be right now. I'm serious. It was so bad that I was just numb. I became numb and I became resentful of things that didn't even matter anymore. And it was really kind of frustrating because, obviously this affected my marriage. There was a lot of things that affected my marriage before that and during that time, but this specific scenario and example I'm giving you has a lot of weight into the leading up to the divorce. First of all, for clarification, there was no infidelity on my end at all. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about, but still, there's some things that I did and said that I 100% would not have said if I was completely healthy in myself. Anyway, so I became really depressed after my third child. I was in my head most of the day, just thinking dark thoughts, and there came a time where I just wanted to lay in bed all day. It felt like just the thought of trying to get out of bed was exhausting. It felt like climbing a mountain some days because of my mood. And for those who have experienced that, I feel for you. And I will always remember how I felt in that moment so that I can hopefully touch one life and help them out, and provide some insight. So when when I was feeling like this, you guys, it was so bad. So bad. Like I said, it was just, I couldn't get out of bed. I spent a lot of time almost in denial, I guess you would say. And I also spent a lot of time, hoping that it would go away on its own, which that's just not realistic at all. And when you're in that mode, nothing is realistic, to be honest. The kids and I, gosh, over the years, we grew this bond that was just absolutely unbreakable, and I just was glued to them. However, this was also a scenario in which I gave my everything to them and just did not focus at all on myself. So anyway, we were just bonded and attached to the hip, like nothing could tear us apart, right? Well, when I was going through that period, it was just so different. I felt nothing for anything or anyone around me. It was really, 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 really sad. And the worst part about this was that I couldn't control it. I wanted to do all of the things that I was used to doing. I wanted to be a part of all of the exciting, things in life. But, those desires didn't go away. But I just could not bring myself to be excited about it or be motivated to do any of it. It was just really, really tough. So by the time I noticed that was going on, like I said, it was already too late. And as far as, not doing things that I regret, right? It wasn't too late to get help, but it was just, I had done some things I would never imagine. For instance, like my kids would be in the bath, and 9 times out of 10, I was doing that for them, bathing them one by one or all the time. It didn't matter. I was doing it. Washing them, playing with them, making them giggle during bath time. And during this time, I would just lay in bed, and their dad would do the bath for them, and I would just be stone cold. It's hard to explain. I just had no emotional attachment to them, and it was hard. It was really, really, really hard. Yeah, they were they were probably the most confused because they were so used to seeing me hands-on involved there with their every step, every little boo-boo I kissed, every little hand I held, all of that stuff. They were so used to seeing that for me, right? And then for that to just switch like that, and I just, like I said, I did not see it coming. And usually you don't see it coming because essentially all the signs you ignore, right? You're thinking that there's just no way that this is happening to me, and that's another problem. You don't think it's gonna happen to you. But anyway, when I realized what I was actually going through, I asked for some help, and I did some really intense therapy. I really focused on personal growth and healing, and a lot of people are, spiteful for me taking that time and think that it's completely selfish to focus on healing in that journey or, asking for help. It's not selfish. It's necessary. It's absolutely necessary. And for the people in my past who thought that this was a dick move, no, it wasn't. It was the only move, for one. And for two, it's I wanted to stay present enough to where my kids know that I'm good. And there's no time limit on that, you guys. There's no time limit. It's at your pace, for one. At your own pace. For two, if you don't do it, they might not have you. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm not in a position to sit on the sidelines, not knowing the internal dialogue or the actions going on in someone else's life or relationship or motherhood. I'm not in authority to judge other people and how they operate or how they choose to enhance their life, you know? And I'm sure that there are commentations on what I was doing during that time, but like, grow up, look at yourself. Gossip is straight up poisonous. It really is. It's so toxic. And if you have that toxic trait, then like, good, bye.
Goodbye.
Don't be a part of my journey, like, at all. Like, I don't need that. And neither do you. Like, if there's something that you're struggling with and you have to put things on hold in order to get yourself right, in order to accomplish your goals, in order to process your feelings and the things in your life that you've been avoiding for so long because you're taking care of your family, you have to do it. I'm sorry. Like, there should not ever be any judgment on that. And I hate the fact that there is still a stigma around mental health and whatnot, and that really, really sucks. Anyway, so the boundaries that I should have placed on my life during that time should have been, hey, I need to get some time to myself. Because I've been home for the last 10 hours with the kids, straight, doing everything that they need, taking care of all of the things that they need taken care of by myself. And in the process, like, cooking dinner, doing as much as I can around the house when I can. Which, mind you, it's almost like a chore suicide at that point, because when you have kids, especially little ones, at home with you all day, there's no like right way to do chores until they're in bed, to be honest, because you do something and then it gets destroyed, right? Anyway, because yeah, it's just a whole mess. So yeah, I should have asked for some time to myself before it got too loaded, I guess. And I also should have put boundaries on specific inquiries from other people into my life. And this is not like super specific to anyone or anything in general. It's kind of like what I needed to do. Anyone like friends or family or whatever probing into your life in your relationship, that should be completely separate, guys. Like, unless you're asking for advice or unless you're reaching out to someone that you're comfortable with about advice, it's not warranted. You shouldn't look from the outside looking in, not knowing the full details or the actual things that have transpired within someone else's relationship. You can't look from the outside looking in, and just be like, hey, can I give you some advice? I noticed that you put these socks on your child and you need to put these ones on. Like, what? No, I'm sorry. I don't need your input. I really don't. Like, we're fine. So, anytime anyone offered not really offered, just, volunteered their advice to me, I would just, be like, okay, yeah, that's a great idea, or whatever. And really, I'm just thinking in my head, like, that's like borderline weird. But nonetheless, because I was a classic people pleaser, I just accepted what people said, and whether or not I applied their advice to my life, that didn't matter. It was more so of the fact that they thought they could keep doing it because I didn't tell them no. And that's on me, but at the same time, it's like, know your role, right? So the boundaries, again, asking for the things that I need, like time to myself, and then making sure to limit the, type of insight that people just offer up on their own, telling them no thank you, The other boundary that I should have set that I did not set is finding my passion again. being able to do the things that I love again, or doing the things that you love again, finding that is really important because it's part of who you are. And just because you had kids and got married, it doesn't mean that part of your identity goes away. You know, it's still in there. That's who you are. But yeah, I just didn't have any hobbies. So, you know, making sure to say, hey, like every Friday, by the way, I'm going to go to the studio and I'm going to write some songs, like, for example, you know, telling, you know, my partner that that's what I needed. That's, you know, another thing. Also, interpersonal boundaries are probably the most important when you're in a relationship, marriage, friendship, anything like that, family. So, for instance, if you are in a relationship and you are spending every waking moment speaking to that other person, spending every waking moment being with that other person, providing validation all the time, that's a boundary you need to set for sure. The reason being is because, like I mentioned previously, it's, you know, kind of clingy, but that's not the point. That's not the most important part. If you don't set boundaries with somebody, they're gonna think that it's okay to keep doing what they're doing, even if you're uncomfortable with it. And honestly, it's just about speaking up. And I know that the problem with a lot of people, such as myself, in saying no, is you think that the other person's feelings are, one, gonna get hurt, and two, you think that they're gonna have some sort of resentment for you because of it. Well, if you set a boundary with someone and they get upset at you for it, they don't need to be in your life. Point blank, period. They're not healthy for you. And your boundaries are specific to you. You know what you need out of your life and relationship. Only you know that. So if something doesn't feel right and you know whether or not it does, if something doesn't feel right, it usually isn't for you, you know? So a good way to set a boundary with a partner is, hey, I noticed that we talk 24/7. I was wondering if it would be okay if we kind of limit that so that we both have time to do what we'd like to do. I still really want to talk to you. I still really want to engage in conversation with you. You can call me anytime you need help. I'm here for you. However, I just think that my time is being consumed a lot with our relationship only, and I don't want to become somebody that I'm not by not focusing on the things that I need to focus on. It's not a lot to ask for. Another example for boundary setting would be a family member. So if you have a parent or a sibling that is very much in communication with you on a constant basis, that's great. I'm glad you have a good relationship with them. However, if it's been like 2 days and they reach out and they're like, hey, I haven't heard from you in 2 days. Are you good? Like, what? Yeah, I'm fine. I can't like not respond to you for 2 days. I'm confused. So setting a boundary with them would look something like, hey, I know that you get worried or you're concerned about me when you don't hear from me after a certain amount of time, but just understand and know and trust that I will reach out to you if I need help. I will reach out to you if I'm in a state of need of help. Just say that, you know, and say, just because I don't respond for 2 days, or just because I don't reach out, how about that? Just because I don't reach out to you in 2 days, that doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean that I care any less. That just means that I'm doing stuff in my life, which is extremely busy, as it is, and I don't need to feel bad about not reaching out to you so that you can feel better because you're concerned about me. What sense does that make? No. If your family member or friend is supportive and understanding, they would probably respond with something like, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. I'm sorry I was being a weirdo. You know, like, they're your family and friends. They know you just as well as you know you. So that's another example. So I wanted to bring up another statistic for you. And that was one that involves the ghosting, which is very relative to my life, based on my episode 1. It says that 39% of people have ghosted a friend or person as far as relationship goes. 39%. And then 52% have actually tried to quiet quit a friendship. Meaning they gradually stop responding to you as much. They gradually stop hanging out with you as much. And 78% of those people who have tried that, it's worked.
Oh no!
What? Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So, anyway, and they say the number one people that commit these ghosting, actions or whatever the heck they're called, Gen Z, and then number 2 is millennials. So, must be a new thing. I don't know. I'm just really old. So yeah, I thought that was crazy. The other boundary thing that I wanted to touch base on before I head out is if you're going through something really hard or personal in your life and it's something that is affecting you emotionally, just make sure that if you do need help that you actually reach out to the people that you've set those boundaries with, because they're not going to know if you're struggling or not if you set some boundaries with them. And, there's a fine line between setting boundaries and setting yourself apart from these people. So just make sure that you're aware and conscious of the types of boundaries you're setting so that you're not just completely sabotaging your relationships or friendships with people, because that can be very touchy. And there's subtle things that you can do to make sure that you're setting the proper boundaries. The boundary thing is just, it's so important. How are you going to focus on yourself if you're way too worried about other people? Somebody makes you dinner and you're like, this is delicious, yet deep down you're saying oh, this is so gross. And you're only saying that because you don't want to hurt their feelings, or you're only saying that it's good because you want to make them happy. Those kinds of tendencies are people-pleasing tendencies. And I'm not saying you have to be rude and be this is gross. No, you don't have to do that. But what you do have to understand is that the more that you tell people, the more that they receive it. So if you are just quiet about it and don't say anything and just tell them thank you so much for making me dinner, I really appreciate it, they won't probe. I guarantee it. If you just say, oh my god, I really appreciate you making me dinner, thank you so much, that was really nice of you. If you say something like that, they're not going to sit here and be like, okay, so but how did you really feel about how it tasted? Unless they're your family member, you're close with people like that, to which you can actually tell them the truth in a very nice or kind way, then yeah, you can tell them that. But not saying something about it isn't lying. You know what I mean? So unless they, prompt a question or prompt a response from you about specifically what's going on, then you don't have to just volunteer information that only you're saying it just to make them happy, right? Because deep down, you're essentially just piecing out on yourself and your true feelings. You know what I mean? You're ghosting yourself in that way. So the more that you provide people, the more information that you provide people based on what you hope their reaction will be or what you hope their feelings will be, you can't do that. You just can't do it. I know it's hard, and I've done it in the past, and I still have some of those tendencies to this day. But it took a lot of repetition and a lot of work and a lot of groundwork on myself to be able to be in a comfortable enough place to set boundaries. So yeah, moral of the story is, if you're not focusing on yourself, you're focusing on someone else. If you're focusing on someone else, you're not focusing on yourself. Like I said, it's a balancing act. You can do both without it being overbearing or overwhelming in one category. It's all about finding what works for you. And what worked for me in some situations may not work for you. And that's okay, because guess what? We are all different. Every single one of us is completely different. There is no exact replica of a person. There's no chance that somebody is 100% exactly the same. That's just not how we're made. We are made very uniquely. We're very different individuals. And that's the beauty of people. So, like I said, the boundaries that you set are going to determine whether or not, one, your relationship or friendship or whatever kind of interpersonal relationship you have is, it's going to end in turmoil. And I say that was my ice maker, sorry about that. And I say that because eventually you're going to get burnt out. Eventually they're going to get burnt out. And if they're one of those, like, I'm going to fix you people, like, codependency is not cute. It's not cute on anyone. So at some point, yes, you will burn out. At some point, you may end up in a similar situation that I was in. The things that I did, just to kind of give you some insight on how I helped myself once I got to that point, because if you're listening and you're already at that point, let me provide some experience, just so you can potentially take some of them away for you to use. So I went to a lot of therapy. I was doing one-on-one therapy for every Monday for a year.
Wow.
There were points in which I took a brief break, like a month here or a month there, but every other time I was going to therapy once a week. And this helped me because it provided a safe environment once I built that stability with my therapist, and it provided a comfortable environment once I got to know her stuff and she got to know mine. And I think that's really important, by the way. So I went to therapy a lot. I did a lot of journaling, and it sounds like, you know, cliche and dumb or whatever and tedious, but no, it's not. Like, even if you just write down 2 words, like 2 words describing how you're feeling every day, that'll provide some sort of outlet for you. So I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of therapy. I also did a lot of meditation, which, again, probably sounds silly to you, but it honestly has changed my day-to-day. I started to, like, dive into the things that I like to do, and even tried new things to see what, you know, I've changed as far as my hobbies. I started coloring, like the adult coloring books with, like, colored pencils, markers, you know, I tried all of it. I started painting. I did a lot of songwriting, poetry. I also did a lot of self-care stuff. So before, when I was home with the kids all day, every day, with nonstop, just like 0 breaks because I didn't ask for them, I just would wake up, throw my hair in a bun, and put on some sweats, and that was my daily fit. Like, I was like, oh, fit check. Nah, don't do it for me. So yeah, I wasn't focused on myself or caring for myself in the way that everybody needs to do. Even, I would go like 6 days, you guys, without a shower because I felt like I didn't have time to, and I didn't ask for that either. So that's, again, on me. You know, when you have one parent who's working, waking up super early, and you have another parent who's working as a single, or not single, sorry, I wasn't single at that time, as a stay-at-home mom, 24/7, you're both tired, for one. But the other parent comes home from work, and all they want to do is decompress from their day at work. And then the other parent is continuously still working with, like, dinner or other dishes, chores, whatever, getting the kids in a bath and into bed and all these things, right? So I would I completely would just like push my shower time aside because I knew that the other person was also tired from waking up and driving into work and working all day and providing the financial support that we needed, yada yada yada. However, I don't think I was any less tired, you know? I don't think I was any less overworked. I also don't think I was any less of value because I was a stay-at-home mom. I was just living in a house that had 1950s viewpoints. And, I mean, granted, we both have changed a lot since then, but, I mean, I was just like, yeah, oh, well, you know, he's tired from work, and, I really don't want to upset him if I ask for, 10 minutes to shower. So, yeah, 6 days later, I'm like, I need to shower, and it's the weekend, so, we're both home, so that was my only opportunity to shower. It's gross, I know, but it's the truth. It is. It's the sad reality of a lot of families out there, you guys. So, I could go on and on about this subject, but I am gonna wrap it up because I don't want to waste your time, my time. Not that this information is invaluable, but I just want to wrap it up, and I can expand more on it later if you guys want me to, but this is also my first podcast video, so I will have a YouTube channel that may change, so I'll let you know, but I'm going to post this video on YouTube. I'm also going to keep it on my Podbean app for my podcast. If you don't have that information, is www.talkmamashay.podbean.com. You can listen for free. If you have any follow-up questions or inquiries, please let me know. Don't be afraid to reach out. Probably the best way to get a hold of me is my Instagram. It's at XOMamaShay. That's MAMASHAE with XO in front of it. So you can message me directly, privately and anonymously if you'd like, if you're struggling with something or you'd like some tips or advice. I guess last thing, food for thought, is if you're in a marriage or a relationship like that's been long term for a while, and the person that you're with is no longer recognizable essentially based on their behaviors and patterns and other things, vices maybe. If you're struggling with getting them to agree to do something that's going to benefit your marriage, friendship, relationship, such as therapy, which is usually the first go-to if you're having relational problems, which is a great option. Sorry, I'm trying to promote my future therapy here. Anyway, if you're struggling to get them to agree to it because they just think it's stupid or they think it's not going to help or they don't want it to help, that is your cue for they don't give a shit. They might not even know it yet. They might not know they don't give a shit yet, but they don't give a shit. I'm telling you right now. They're going to be who they want to be. And as much as you beg them, plead them, try to improve yourself, at some point when you improve yourself and you start growing, you're going to grow out of them. And that's okay. If they don't want to change or improve or get better themselves personally, then don't stay for the kids. Don't, because you're just going to end up miserable. I promise you. Promise you. So if you're struggling with how to approach that, first of all, give them a deadline because that tells them that you're serious. Say, if we don't try to do something to better our relationship by this date, give them 30 days maybe, then I'm going to have to seriously start considering, leaving. Oh my gosh, that ice maker. Just tell them that because that'll hopefully put a fire under their ass. And if it doesn't put a fire under their ass, they don't give a shit. So at least give them an opportunity or a couple of them at first and then go from there. You can also reach out to a marriage and family therapist or counselor, couples counselor, and ask them for their advice as well. I'm sure they have a lot of helpful tips. You can also get the process started for you guys so that you can say, hey, just so you know, babe, I reached out to a marriage and family therapist or a counselor for couples, and they're willing to see us at this date. What do you think? So if you lay the groundwork for them, it might not sound as, like, exhausting or, whatever, some sort of, daunting task. If you do it for them or if you start the process, they might be a little bit more open to it. However, you can never force someone to care. If they stop caring, you can't do anything about it. You can try your best and put all your efforts and put the best foot forward that you can. But once they stop caring, there's no turning back. So do the best you can and focus on you. Even if that means that you no longer have that family unit. I'm all for families staying together, even though I'm divorced. I tried to do the same thing. I tried to stay for, the kids. There was just too much turmoil, too much, it was already too far gone. So, yeah, do the best you can to stay together. 100%. But if they're not willing to change or grow with you, then they're not willing to, understand the repercussions of that. And you need to think about what you need, not what other people need for once in your life. Because if you are a single mom or dad and you've been doing this journey for a while and your partner isn't open to change as far as growing your relationship because you guys have grown apart, then yeah, you need to start focusing on what you need and want and what you need to do that's going to provide a prime example for your children in the future. Because then they're just going to grow up and mimic the relationship that you guys have. So if it's not like top-notch, grade A relationship stuff, like they're not going to kids are not going to know, they're just going to try to, like I said, we lead by example. They're just going to grow up and have a very unhealthy or toxic or just unbeneficial relationship. So, yeah, I will leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening if you did. Yay, kudos to you. I am going to fold my laundry and get ready to get the kiddos this weekend in a couple of days. I'm so excited to see them. I haven't seen them in a while. Yesterday I saw them for my daughter's gymnastics, but I was kind of like in the background because it's just me. And then it's just like their dad and his partner. Anyway, so it's just kind of awkward. So I kind of stood in the shadows. Anyway, I can't wait to see them. Thank you so much for listening. If you did, make sure to let me know if you need help. Again, suicide prevention line is 988. If you're having a problem or mental health struggle, please, 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 please reach out to somebody. Talk to somebody. If you want, you can talk to me. Even if you're just spilling your beans, like, I'm doing all right. You know what I mean? So go ahead. Tell me what's up. I'd be happy to help. That is part of my passion in life, is trying to help others. So yeah, thank you so much again. Take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves. I think that's the moral of this whole episode. And I will be back with another episode soon. And just make sure you stay tuned to my podcast on Podbean. And also just keep up with this YouTube channel, because who knows, I might do more. This is kind of a trial run, so please give me grace. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. Until next time. Peace.